So I wanted to zero in now on the ProCoach Success System as a tool, all right? And can we have the handout for this, please? So basically, for those of you that saw the Success Blueprint workshop, many of you heard me talk about the fact that every system that works, and ProCoach is a system, every system that works has three components in it. It has a methodology, kind of the steps that need to be taken. It has education, and it has support. So for example, you take a franchise. Okay, franchise has a methodology. They've broken their marketing and their product and so on down into individual steps. But everybody who joins a franchise or buys a franchise also gets an education. You can't even buy a McDonald's franchise without going to Hamburger University, right? You know, if you were to take a weight loss system, you know, they're going to give you products and some steps, but they're also going to train you and teach you about how to eat and how to exercise and so on until you get the results. And thirdly, you need to have the support to follow through and implement the methodology and learn the education. So let's talk about the pieces. The first thing that we need to look at when you're setting out on any journey, any trip, is what? You look into the future and you go, destination. By destination. Where am I going? First piece, right? So same with ProCoach. The first thing we're going to ask you to do is look at your long-term vision, which is the destination. We'll break these down in a minute. And then your 3-year vision, which is a step closer to it, which is a little more concrete. And then we're going to ask, where am I now? Right? You need to also, people think you can get to somewhere from just saying, oh yeah, I want to get over there, but unless you kind of take the coordinates of where you are now, if you think that you're financially really well off, and you're not aware that you don't have any money, then you're going to probably make plans to get somewhere that are not necessarily going to get you there because you're not realistic about your existing situation. So we ask you to take an assessment of your where you're at now, and both hard copy one financially, and also in terms of how you feel about yourself with the Wheel of Life. And then we'll get then we have the planning mechanism, the quarterly intentions, the folder that makes your plan each quarter, and the weekly action planner. So those are the pieces we're going to start working on today. Now we're not going to move through them in order because it gets really boring if we do that. So we'll be jumping around a little bit, but we'll work through those this morning. And then we'll be talking about some of the core education pieces, the success principles, just what does it take to become successful? You know, we talked for many of you that were the blueprint about how do you increase confidence? What's the formula for increasing confidence? Somebody tell me. Anybody remember? That what you need to do if you want to increase your confidence.
Set goals that are achievable.
Oh, you guys, we taught this in the blueprint. You mean we're going to have to go through it again, right? So this is one of the rules of learning something new is that...
To impress yourself.
Yes, she got it. Give her a hand, Laurel. Yes, so impress yourself is the way you increase your confidence. So that's a success principle. We also have the 7 success accelerators. We have our cleanups, our whole concept that's part of our education. The importance of cleanups, completions, and deletions. We've got a time system we'll show you later on this morning. We'll take a look at around, again, that's all content, education. Goal setting methodology, and the success factors, the success principles is part of it as well. And then in terms of the support, how do we keep you on track? With our quarterly seminars, the private laser coaching, we hook you up and line you up with success partners. Again, we'll talk about that later today. Success Express game is a game to keep you on track. Our members-only website, the monthly teleclasses, and the DVDs, which right now most of you received in the DVD called Success Essentials. But as we're videotaping this, we'll be able to now create one called the ProCoach Maximizer, which you'll be able to watch over and over again and reinforce the principles. Because, as we just discovered, you don't remember everything first time round, right? Okay, so let's start with where are you going? Okay. So 2 pieces to the where you're going part. Number 1, the long-term vision. And number 2, three-year intentions. So, let's talk about the distinction between the two. it's been my experience that when you look into the long-distance future, you're actually not thinking about exactly what you want. It's more about the experience you want to create and who you want to be. So if you think where you want to be in 10, 12 years from now, you might say financially free, but in actual fact what you want is the freedom that comes with it. You say healthy, you want to feel healthy. So the long-term vision is generally less specific. Well, I guess the best analogy would be if you're a person who wants to climb mountains, the long-term vision would be an incredible peak peak mountaineer or mountain climber. But the 3-year vision might be to complete and go climb some specific peaks. I'm going to climb this peak and this peak and this peak. So these ones get a lot more specific. The same is true in your business, right? I want to have my business. Well, I'll give you an example for ProCoach. My long-term vision is to have a ProCoach as a sustainable company that has a valuable product that helps tens of thousands of people to achieve their goals, and for me to be disentangled from it, to not be about me, but have the program created and it to run on its own. That's my long-term vision. Okay, it's kind of general. Do you get that? And then down here in the 3-year, it's more, 3 years from now I want to have a corporate office that's outside of our home. I want to have a certain amount of revenue coming in. I want to have a way of bringing in members from around the world, not just locally through my presentations. So these are specific, much more specific things that are going to bring me to this. Okay? So that's kind of the difference. So raise your hand if you've already completed your long-term vision workbook. Okay? Raise your hand if you've done the 3-year intentions workbook. A lot of you. Okay, so if you haven't, these pieces are really important because they set the stage of the direction. We're going to be asking you to make priorities, decisions about priorities as you go along. And knowing where you're going makes it much easier to set priorities that are going to take you there faster. Right? Now, having said that, how many of you have a hard time seeing your long-term vision? Anyone? Yeah, it can be difficult, right? It's not always crystal clear. And I do want to say this to you. If you don't know exactly what your long-term vision is, anybody feel like that's maybe a concern? You're worried about not knowing where you're going? You sent me an email about that, right? So anybody else not really feel it's a little bit of a concern? Here's what I'm going to tell you, Nancy. Don't worry about it. And I'll tell you 2 reasons why. Number one is that you are programmed innately. Even though you don't know exactly what you want, you're headed a particular direction. You're already on a certain course. And that direction is, what direction are you headed? You're headed up, right? You're in a program that's taking you up. You're hanging around other people that are going up. So you do actually have more of a sense of direction than you think. So I wouldn't worry about it from that point of view. And the other thing is that spending all your time worrying about not being clear, and spending your time trying to get clear and doing goal setting exercise and so on when you're not really clear, and then beating yourself up for not knowing, actually helps you become more successful or less successful. It actually makes you feel smaller. So I hereby give you permission to go ahead completely without a clue where you're going and feel really good about it. Because there's only one thing you need to know in order to get to the top. What's that? The next step. That's right. What's the next step? That's all, because that's the only thing you can take right now anyway. And you already have an innate sense of direction. Now, the more clear you are about these, the more useful it'll be. It's good information, but I'm just saying don't beat yourself up that you don't have it. Okay? But if you haven't done it, I do want you to do it. And so I'm going to introduce you now one of the tools in the system that are in the workshop today. We're going to hand out a little yellow sheet. Looks like this, and it's called Your Task List. Now, I know people don't like to get tasks. Okay? However, there's going to be some pieces that come out of today, and I want you to be able to prioritize them so you do them in the right order that's going to get you where you want to go as fast as possible. Are you okay with that? So, if you have not done your your long-term vision and 3-year intentions on the task list, I want you to write, to complete these. So 2 different items, and you can make these a priority B. They don't have to be done instantly, but I definitely want you to get them done relatively soon. So, first task would be complete the long-term vision workbook. Second would be to complete the 3-year intentions. And carry for yourself, if it's a 2-year point and you feel like you need to revisit these, then write it again onto your task list what you want to do. And at the end of the day, we'll be able to look at the priorities. You all to know where to go move ahead on first. So any questions about the 3-year intention, long-term vision? Okay. Let's keep moving. Oh, I want to talk quickly about the difference between an intention and a goal. Why do we talk about intentions rather than goals? Any thoughts? Anyone? What's the difference? Like, here's a goal, here's an intention. How are they different?
The goal is serious, and intention is like a dream.
And so an intention for you is a little more softer and kind of less specific, and a goal is serious and specific?
Intention feels like you mean to do it, doesn't mean you will, but you want.
An intention is more like a direction you're headed, but it doesn't have the same rigidity around it, right? So there's lots of other ways. I mean, generally, goals have times associated with them. Intentions, maybe not so much. It's the reason that we use the word intention rather than goal, because here's what, remember earlier on I said, the biggest challenge is that people set themselves up and have unrealistic expectations about what they're going to accomplish. And when do you feel worst? If you don't accomplish a goal or don't accomplish an intention? A goal you beat yourself up more for, right? So that's why we said intentions, because you're not going to necessarily accomplish all of these in 3 years. They're more your plans, your vision of what you want. And if you call them goals, there's a tendency to beat yourself up. So we just use that word strategically. You can mix and match them whatever you want. But that's why we call it 3-year intention. Okay.